back on the back foot. What I want to do today is show you how you can shift your pressure so that that never happens again. Hi, I'm Peter Knight. I've created this channel, Peter Knight Golf, to help you play the best golf you can. And if you hit the subscribe button, you'll get a video from me every week. And today we're going to have a look at how that pressure should shift during your swing. So as I just mentioned in the introduction, so many players complain about hitting off the back foot or they can't shift pressure. The reason that they're struggling with that is because there's not an understanding of how that pressure should move, and more especially the timing of how that pressure moves. So if I set myself up to play a shot, most players sort of think of the golf swing as being almost, say, three parts. The first part's the backswing, the second part's the transition where there's a change from the backswing to the downswing, and then there's the downswing to impact, and maybe a fourth is follow through to the end of the swing. In fact, it's better to think of the swing, more correctly to think of the swing, as being one motion, one continuous motion. Yes, it does change direction, but at the same time, there's no stopping. There's no in order to change direction. Now, a large part of understanding that comes in how we look at what happens with the pressure on the feet. So if we sort of go through how that pressure shifts and the timing of, that'll give you a better understanding of what it is. And we'll need to sort of practice this because this is probably quite different to what most people either think happens or what they actually do. So when I set myself up, so I'm going to start off without swinging the golf club at all because I just want to get the feel of the motion. So when I set myself up, the pressure on my feet is fairly even on both. So let's call it 50-50. 50% of pressure on my left and 50% of pressure on my right. Now, as I begin my backswing, the pressure is very, very quickly moving to my right foot. So as I begin my backswing, I've now got much, much more pressure, probably 80% of pressure on my right foot. Now, as I start my backswing, I can feel there's a little bit of a push into the ground through my right foot. So as I start that push, that increases the pressure. So getting from, say, 50-50 to 80-20 is not me doing this. Because if I do that, I move too far away from being centered and I can't come back. I don't have the time to do it. So as I'm starting back, my hips are turning, I'm pushing into the ground a little bit. So you can see my hips really are not moving sideways, so there's no big sway. Now, once I get to about, say my hips have turned about, say, 30 degrees, or if I put the golf club in my hand, when my hands are at roughly about hip height, maybe just a bit higher, but somewhere in here, I'll have the most pressure on my right foot that I'm going to have at any point during the backswing. So even just starting the swing this way, so first movement is I'm starting back, now I can feel a huge amount of pressure, or huge relative to my left foot anyway. So when I get back to here, I've got about 90%, 80 to 90% of pressure onto my right foot. That's the first feeling to get. And again, monitoring that so that you're not swaying as you do it. Or if there's a little bit of movement, a little bit of sway, it's very, very minor. Now, by the time I get to the end of the backswing, so from here to the end of the backswing, the pressure has already reduced. So now I might only have about 70% of pressure onto this foot. Now, again, looking at the swing from front on here, I'm moving from 90% to 70%. And you might look and say, well, I didn't see you move sideways at all. The thing that's changing is how much pressure I'm pushing into that foot. So I'm pushing in a lot. Now that's going to help me rotate and help me get to be able to transition and move back the other way. So from here, 90%, now it's only about 70. Now because that pressure is reducing as I get to the very end of the backswing, that is when my body will start to move a little bit back toward the target. And now you can see that I am starting to move sideways. So I'm swinging back, and then as I get to the end of the backswing, I'm starting to drift sideways. So it's my entire body that's starting to move. Mostly my lower body, but a tiny little bit with my upper body as well. What that does is that keeps my body centered. Now, if I don't create that little bit of a forward movement, if I get back to here and or worse, stop, now I've got more pressure on my right foot than I want, and it's really difficult to shift it from here to here. The other thing is I've got from the top of my backswing to impact somewhere between, a quick swing will be about 1/4 of a second, a slower swing will be about 1/3 of a second. So it's not much time. It's certainly not enough time unless I've already got a head start. So now if we sort of look more into the timing of what happens from the end of the backswing, so I've already started to move forward, and now from here my upper body stabilizes and my lower body continues to move forward. So that from here, 90% of pressure on my right foot, maybe 70, and I'm already starting to move forward. So by the time I get to here, now I've got 70 to 80% on my left. Now, a good practice is to start off a lot of pressure on my right, and you can see I'm just getting back and I'm shifting. So that pressure moving into my right foot not only helps my balance my body to turn, but it also allows that forward shifting to begin. Now it's very easy for me then to continue to move forward a little bit and turn the other way. So even as I'm doing this motion without swinging the golf club, you can see that there's almost a sort of a bouncy look a little bit to it. I've sort of mentioned in other videos where our knees, ankles and hips, they are a little bit bouncy and almost act like shock absorbers to some extent. So that's the sensation that we want. So now if I play my shot and watch the timing of the movement, you can see that my body does have this movement sideways, this rhythmic, smooth, flowing movement. So as you can see, getting the feel of this movement, getting your body to turn and pressure to shift from foot to foot, it's not shifting weight necessarily, but actually shifting the pressure, and that's a key distinction. But practice the movements as I've described here, and you'll find that not only will you be more stable, you'll probably add a lot more power to your swing as well.